Salvian sees that Onesese now lives in the center of the city, next to the royal quarter. The private stone thermal baths to Roma with swimming pools, hot and cold rooms, touche his big house. The embassies are housed in residences not far from this house and can enjoy the thermal baths. Romulus and Attila spend much time in the family of Orestes and often stay in his house. Arrives Attila with his suite. As in all solemn cases, he is welcomed by the girls. Dressed in white dresses of fine cloth which carry a canopy under which pass the songs of other girls in groups of 7. The girls wear elegant vests and high hats made of precious furs. They greet Attila and his new young wife, wish them happiness, and then go before the procession. The inhabitants of the capital welcome the procession with joyous cries. When Attila passes the house of Onesese, Ita, the mistress of family, bowed and saluted the emperor who stopped his horse. She proposes that he accept a meal. Attila kindly consents and 2 warriors hoist a silver table with food in front of his saddle and stay on both sides supporting the feet of the table. Attila eats and drinks without getting off her horse, thanks Ita and leaves for her palace. The same evening, Maximin, Priscus and Salvian are invited to dinner by Ita, the wife of Onesese, with many noble Huns and foreigners. Salvian is surprised and flattered that Ita was aware of his arrival and did not forget their encounter several years ago. She asks him, "Have you seen Orestes, your old friend?" "Yes, we talked a bit this afternoon." He is very pleased with the arrival of his parents and his wife radiates happiness. "They invite me to dinner tomorrow. I'm waiting for Onesese tomorrow morning." He was in the capital of East Hunland with Elik and had to return. Unfortunately, Kere-ko is very sick and Elik also decided to come to see his mother. By the way, I present Dr. Eudoxus, who has come from Gaul. He does everything to help our Empress. Salvian looks attentively at the doctor who smiles. "I know you. Do you remember our conversations in Al 20 years ago? I said then, that I would like to discuss with Attila one day. I was very impressed by your stories. And now I am here." The officer scowls. "I heard you became one of the insurgent leaders." Eudoxus objects, "The Bigaudis are peasants, insurgents against Roman oppression and taxes, which have become insupportable. I have indeed lived many years among them and contributed to the organization of a normal life in the liberated regions." Dinner begins. Salvian and Eudoxus take their places in opposite corners of the room. The next morning, curious, Priscus goes for a walk in the city. He crosses some quarters and meets a richly dressed man who greets him in Greek. Priscus stops. "You speak perfect Greek." The unknown, wearing the Hun's clothes, smiles. "Actually, I'm Greek. I was a trader in the town of vehemently, married to a rich woman. But the war began. The Huns took the city. I was given to Onesese to share the booty. Being mobilized in his army, I first participated in the war against the Romans, then in a raid to the east. I have redeemed my freedom, according to the laws of the Huns, with my booty. Now I've become quite Hun. I got married with a young woman, we have beautiful children, I am often invited to the table of Onesese. My present situation pleases me more than my former life as a Roman trader." Priscus is very impressed by these words. "That's not true. Why do you think like this?" The unknown explains. "I now lead a life without worry. The heavy bureaucracy that disturbs you at every step does not exist here. The war for the Huns is an interesting activity. While the modern Romans have unlearned to wage war, their tyrants do not allow them to carry arms. For the Romans, life in peace has become even more intolerable than during the war with all taxes. The payment of tribute to the conquerors, the excesses of the tax collectors and other scoundrels. How can it be otherwise when the laws are not the same for all? The rich and influential easily bypasses the laws. The poor or the weak, who do not know the finesse of laws and formalities, cannot even avoid unjust punishment. Many of them are dying of despair, ruined by endless legal proceedings. I am particularly outraged that justice can be bought. Whatever crime is done against you, you cannot obtain justice without corrupting judges and bailiffs. Priscus begins to prove the opposite. I find, on the contrary, that Roman law is well done. The laws are obligatory for everyone. The emperor himself must respect them, and even a slave can address the judges. It is normal that the work of judges and lawyers should be paid for. The slowness of the procedure is almost always justified. The young diplomat is so eloquent that his interlocutor almost falls in with him. Roman law is fair and has laudable aims. But in reality it is often distorted or misapplied by dishonest civil servants and lawyers. Those in power do not think like their ancestors. The conversation is interrupted because a servant of Wanges comes to announce to Priscus that his master has arrived. The young diplomat hurriedly returns to the residence of the embassy to bring an important news to Maximin. Ita showed the gifts of the Romans to Wanges and explained that Ambassador Maximin was waiting for him impatiently to speak urgently of a personal message from Emperor Theodosius. Intrigued, Wanges come himself to see the Romans. Count Maximin expounds to him in very diplomatic terms the strange proposal of Theodosius that Wanges should become the arbiter of peace between the empire of the Huns and the Eastern Roman Empire. Priscus is astonished by the speed and brutality of the reaction of the Hun minister of Greek origin. I cannot be a neutral arbiter. Is your emperor hoping that I will betray Attila because of my origins or for money? No, you cannot buy and sell everything, as he thinks. I have long become a Hun, my wife and my children are Huns. For nothing in the world I cannot neglect the interests of my sovereign, who has given me such great confidence during all these years. The Romans are disappointed. Priscus thinks. Maybe, simply. Is Wanges afraid to show his sympathy for us? It is very strange, for would not it be better for this Greek to help his compatriots at this difficult time, and then return with honor to Constantinople than to spend the rest of his life with these barbarians? How can this educated Greek, a representative of the great ancient civilization, find it interesting to live among the Huns with customs so different from ours?